Welcome to the Sacred Sadist Podcast, where power is refined, impact sharpens, and leaders move from success that contains to ecstatic legacy.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Alara Sage. Leaders don't blame. Leaders take ownership. To live radical ownership is pure power. It is a state of clarity, a state of certainty. It says to yourself, to those around you, and to the universe that I create my reality. That's a powerful statement. Human nature is oftentimes naturally inclined to blame, especially when it involves other people. But the minute you blame, you point the finger at another person, or even blame yourself, which is very different than radical ownership, you displace your power. In 2021, I had all my money stolen. And initially, there was absolutely a sense of fear because it was literally all of my money. And in that moment, when I felt that fear, I breathed into my body. I met the fear. And I reminded myself that I create my reality. And therefore, I will create the money again. Now, ironically, in that particular experience, I had more to learn because I still wasn't taking ownership of what was being offered. And instead of just creating all the money back, my six-figure business collapsed. And I had to come face to face with the areas of my life, the areas of myself, the areas of my business that I wasn't taking ownership for. And the interesting thing is as I have expressed this story a multitude of times, when I'm on podcasts with other hosts, oftentimes the other host will want to dive into the story around who stole from you. And the first time that this happened, I was actually taken aback because I never focused on that. That wasn't where my power was. And a couple of times I have answered their question, and they have again wanted to go deeper into the story. And I have to say, it's not relevant. I take ownership for what happened. Yes, but your money was stolen. Yes, it was. Someone else, quote unquote, stole my money, and I take ownership. It shifts the energy from victim, from a belief of something is happening to you, to empowerment, to the knowing that everything is for you. And in that particular experience, my ownership allowed me to see, because I was willing, where I had gone astray and what had led me through my own personal actions to that moment. Because of my ownership, I was able to see where I was leaking my power, where I was believing false truths. And I immediately began to rewrite those false truths. And from that place, I was able to recreate the six-figure business, the six figures, the money, everything. But now all of it is in an energy of knowingness, instead of false truth, an energy of truth instead of false belief. That's power. The beauty of seeing our reality this way is, again, this is not a state of self-blame. Oftentimes when I work with clients initially, they feel this blame towards themselves. When we are excavating the truth, they feel shame, they feel guilt. They feel that they're not good enough, that they're unworthy. But the excavation of the truth didn't make them feel like that. They already felt that way. Those are programs, those are imprints that happen early on in your life. And then from those imprints of you're somehow guilty, you're somehow shameful, you're not worthy enough, you create experiences that are self-defeating, self-abusive, self-detrimental. And this is where the golden nugget, the wisdom, the love of the moment desires to be revealed. So as I work with these clients and we excavate deeper the truth, we bring in that love to self as we are clearing out the subconscious memories that they've forgotten, experiences, moments in their life which created them, but they don't remember being created by those moments. And therefore, they're not aware of what they are allowing to create them, their identity, and therefore their reality. So we excavate these belief structures, and as we do this, we focus on forgiveness of the self, love towards the self. Because when you're in a state of love, self-ownership, radical ownership feels incredible because it is truth and it resonates as so. And it feels as if you are invincible because you are, but not invincible from an ego state, invincible as your eternal self. This is sovereign leadership. So it feels good because when you take ownership of something, you, one, get to experience the lesson fully. You get to receive the golden nugget of wisdom that experience that is happening for you is offering. And from that wisdom, you get to improve upon yourself, your business, whatever it is that this is reflecting. And now you become stronger, clearer, more empowered, more refined. That's beautiful. So self-ownership is not blame. Self-ownership is not shame. And if you experience these energies, it's not because you are taking ownership. It's because those energies already exist. And they are actually the fundamental subconscious beliefs, subconscious programmings that created the experience in the first place. What beautiful awareness. Now you have the opportunity to do something with that awareness. Now that you can see the belief that created the experience, now you can rewrite it. That's a beautiful thing. Beliefs are not truth. Knowingness is truth. And underneath the truth is the knowingness. So you can let all your beliefs go. Because the truth of you knows that you are worthy. The truth of you knows that you are powerful, love, truth, authority. This is your truth. Anything that says other than that is just simply a belief structure. It doesn't serve you. That is functioning in the background, and you're not even aware of it. In that moment of my story where I went into this state where I took radical ownership, I was shown how I had been given intuitive hits. I had had an inner knowing that I wasn't doing some things correctly with my money, and I was ignoring them. I also could feel this frantic energy that was in my space, that I was agreeing to take action from. I was reacting rather than responding. I was not deeply present. I was not commanding my reality in that moment. I had come off the track, so to speak. And all of that was shown to me as I took radical ownership. And I recognized how I walked myself into that moment. I created that moment. It had nothing to do with this quote unquote other person. It had nothing to do with that entire story. And again, that was the golden nugget. And as soon as you see that belief or that golden nugget or that pattern or whatever it is, you'll see how much it has had power over you in your life. You'll see where else it comes into play. And that's delicious because now you get to rewrite all of that by focusing on this one thing. Because beliefs don't just play out in a certain area in our life. They play out in all areas of our lives. So the next time something happens to you that you dislike or you would prefer, perhaps, that it hadn't happened to you, first step is to pause and to say to yourself, breathe down into your belly. Always important to breathe because this will trigger your nervous system. It will trigger your ability to be in coherence with a situation rather than be in fight or flight or freeze or fawn. You want to be in a rest and digest. You want to be able to digest the experience, digest what happened so that you can receive, just like you do when you digest food, you receive its nutrients. You want to digest the experience to receive the wisdom. So breathe down into your belly. Then say to yourself, I take ownership of this moment. I take ownership of this experience. If you have a level of clarity of self, then you can begin the inquiry. And anytime with this type of work, you want to come at it with a state of curiosity. Curiosity is another way of saying staying open-minded. You're curious, you're open-minded. You're not trying to immediately understand because the mind will do that. The mind will come in and immediately say, yep, this was it. This is the thing. And usually that'll come in the form of blame or some sort of escapism. Not my fault. Even it was an accident. So bring it in instead from a place of open-mindedness. Bring it in instead in an inquiry. What is the golden nugget of wisdom here for me? What do I need to see? What do I need to learn from this experience? And if you have clarity and that connection with self, you may receive the information right away, but you may not. And when we don't receive the information, this is a very important part of this process. Because again, most humans don't do well in a state of not knowing. And therefore, they fill it with logic. They fill it with information that may or may not be true, may or may not be relevant. Give it spaciousness. Bring the question in, be fully present to the question, but let there be no answer until you are sure when the answer comes, and you'll feel it. Because the golden nugget of wisdom is profound. Make no mistake. That's why it's called a golden nugget. It's a profound truth that just got dropped into your lap. Bomb of authority to your life. So you will feel it. You will feel its truth. You will feel how impactful this golden nugget is to you personally. So inquire, be inquisitive, be curious, but let the information come to you. And then when you do receive the information, again, be curious. Where else has this shown up in your life? Where else does this belief or this pattern, perhaps this trauma, keep recreating itself in your physical reality? And again, curiosity here, open-mindedness, and ownership. Because now you're owning other areas of your life, other areas of your reality that you hadn't maybe even thought of, that are now interwoven, interconnected with this experience. Because none of it is separate. And when you feel like you have that information, now what do you want to create instead? Who do you want to become? What is the knowingness that this is revealing? Right? If the golden nugget is showing you your unworthiness, for instance, the knowingness is your innate worth. So going back to my story, it was showing me where I didn't trust myself. It was showing me where I was not listening to that inner knowing, that inner voice, and where I was giving my power away to other people. So that lack of self-trust. And of course, when I sat with that, I was shown where that comes up literally everywhere. So the knowingness there is that, first and foremost, I can trust myself before anybody else. It is me. You are the most important person in your reality because you are the center of it. And oftentimes people don't like to hear these things because we've been taught other things, but this is truth. You can't tell me that you're not the center of your reality, because who's left when there's no one else but you? There's only you, because you are the center of your reality, not egoically, not egotistically, but just fundamental truth. So you are the first person to trust. That inner voice is the first voice to trust. And that is the knowingness that comes beneath that belief, as an example. So the next time something happens to you, whether it is tiny or grand, huge, immense, can you take radical ownership for it? Can you pause, breathe into your belly, state to yourself, either in your own head or out loud, I own this. I take ownership. I created this. Ooh, that one's even slightly edgier. How delicious. And then allow the beautiful golden nugget to be revealed to you so that you can shift your internal structure, your internal kingdom, so that this experience never happens again. And you create the magical version of that experience, so to speak, right? So going back to my story, having my money stolen, the magical experience of that, the experience that is rooted in truth would be me acquiring, creating, earning, receiving a large quantity of money instead of having that money taken from me. Radical ownership is power. And sovereign leaders desire embodied power. They desire truth. And embodied leaders are the leaders who are going to be leading, full stop. So if some of this you don't understand and maybe you don't know what embodied leadership is, I invite you into this journey. Because these are the kinds of people who are going to be leading our planet, embodied leaders, sovereign leaders, the ones who are willing to take ownership, that release the blame and the cowardness and the martyrdom of that type of behavior. They ground into the experience and they receive the lesson. And they take action on that lesson from a place of centered coherence. As always, I am here to assist you if you seek support. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the Sacred Sadist Podcast, From Bound to Liberated. Connect with us on Instagram at The Sacred Sadist or on YouTube at Alara Sage. Until next time.